Cool, I said, keeping my voice even while my jaw locked tight. Then I added the sentence that changed everything. Well, everything will be cancelled then. There was a pause on the other end of the call. Not the polite kind, the dangerous kind. The kind where someone suddenly realizes they pushed a wrong button. I could picture it perfectly, my mother's confident smile freezing, her eyes narrowing as she tried to decide whether I was serious. She thought I was bluffing. She always does. That's the curse of being the good daughter for too long. People stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as a service. They forget how much damage you can do once you stop trying to earn your place. My name is Olivia. I'm 28. And for as long as I can remember, Christmas has been my responsibility. Not the fun parts. Not the sitting by the fire with cocoa parts. I mean the real work. The menus, the grocery lists, the decorations, the playlists timed down to the minute, the group chats that never stop buzzing, the quiet fixes when something goes wrong so my mother can smile like none of it was ever close to disaster. Every candle, every tradition, every matching pajama photo, that was me. And this year, the same woman who built her reputation on my invisible labor told me casually, almost kindly, that I wasn't needed, that I wasn't invited, that I shouldn't come. She said it like she was doing me a favor. When the call ended, I stood alone in my tiny Los Angeles kitchen, phone still in my hand, the screen dark. My reflection stared back at me like a stranger. No one needs you to come this Christmas. The words replayed in my head on a loop. For years, December revolved around her house, her table, her version of a perfect family, and with one sentence, I'd been erased from it like I was never essential at all. My mother's name is Margaret. To the outside world, she's Christmas incarnate, the perfect host, the woman everyone praises for doing it all. They don't see the spreadsheets I keep, the emergency store runs, the midnight cleanup while she accepts compliments, like applause after a performance. My brother Ryan likes to joke that I'm just good at this stuff. His job is showing up. Mine is making sure everything survives him showing up. Last year, the oven died an hour before guests arrived. Margaret panicked. I solved it. Ordered catering. Rewrote the timeline. Sold it as a fun surprise. She got praised for creativity. I got distracted. Thanks, Liv. So when she told me I wasn't needed this year, something inside me went quiet. If I disappeared, Christmas wouldn't just feel different. It would collapse. And for the first time, I realized something important. I had the guest list. I had the traditions. And I had the power. Ryan called the next morning. Hey, Mom might have spoken too fast yesterday, he said, forcing a laugh that didn't quite land. She didn't mean you're not needed. She just meant, it's fine if you skip this year. Skip. Like I was a movie sequel no one was excited about. I leaned against the counter, staring at the Christmas mug I'd bought last year, the one that said family is everything. I almost laughed. Ryan, I said calmly. Who's picking up Grandma from the airport? Silence. And who's doing the shopping? I continued. The food? The decorations? The church schedule? The gift exchange? More silence. Longer this time. I thought Mom, he started. She doesn't. I interrupted. She hosts. I run it. That was the truth they never liked hearing out loud. I didn't say anything dramatic. I didn't threaten. I simply told him the facts. If I wasn't welcome, I wouldn't interfere. No spreadsheets. No reminders. No last-minute rescues. I'm just respecting what Mom said. I finished. She said I wasn't needed. We hung up awkwardly. By evening, my phone started buzzing. First, a cousin asking about arrival times. Then an aunt wondering who had the secret Santa list. Then my grandmother, confused and anxious, asking why no one had confirmed her ride. Each message tightened something in my chest, but I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop. I deleted the shared folder, the grocery list, the schedules, the playlist labeled Christmas mornings start at 8:02 am. All gone. I removed myself from the family group chat without a word. And for the first time in years, December felt quiet. 2 days later, my mother called. Not angry. Not yet. Olivia, she said, soft and careful. People are asking questions. I could hear it now, the stress hiding behind politeness. I told everyone you had things handled, she continued, but I can't seem to find the plans. I took a slow breath. That's because I didn't make them. I said. You told me not to come, so I assumed you didn't want my help either. Another pause, sharper this time. That's not what I meant, she snapped. But it's what you said. She sighed, the sound heavy with irritation. You're being dramatic. There it was. The familiar dismissal. The way my feelings always became an inconvenience. I'm being consistent, I replied. You said I wasn't needed. I believed you. The line went quiet. Then she said something that finally made it clear she still didn't understand. Well, you can still send me the lists at least. That's when I realized this wasn't about hurt feelings. It was about control. And for the first time, I didn't bend. I won't, I said gently. This Christmas is yours. I hung up before she could respond. Outside, the city lights flickered on. People rushed past with shopping bags and laughter. Somewhere, families were planning dinners that didn't depend on me. And somewhere else back in my mother's perfectly decorated house, Christmas was starting to unravel. By the morning of December 23rd, the ripple effect had fully hit. My phone buzzed nonstop, cousins, aunts, even distant neighbors who had somehow been looped into the chaos. Each message was a mix of confusion and relief. People weren't angry. They were curious, and some quietly grateful. Liv, are you seriously hosting Christmas? My cousin Claire texted. Yes. I typed back, keeping it short. If you want it. Within minutes, confirmations poured in. One by one, people who had felt trapped in my mother's perfect Christmas machine were ready to join me. My apartment, small and modest, was suddenly becoming the real Christmas hub. I went into overdrive, pulling out my old planning notebooks, dusting off decor from last year, even baking a batch of cookies I'd been perfecting in secret for months. For the first time, everything I did felt like my choice, not an obligation. Meanwhile, the fallout on my mother's end was palpable. Ryan called again in the afternoon, voice low and unsteady. Mom is losing it, Liv, he said. She's scrambling, trying to call everyone herself. But no one's listening. They're all asking me questions about you, about why she suddenly can't host. I leaned back in my chair, sipping coffee I hadn't had time to drink all week. Good, I said quietly. Good? He asked, confused. Yeah, good, I repeated. She's been getting credit for my work my whole life. This is just a glimpse of what it's like when I stop doing everything silently. There was a long pause. Then Ryan admitted something quietly. I didn't realize how much you actually did. You never do, I said softly. No one ever does. Until it's gone. The rest of the day was a blur of preparation. I texted everyone the final schedule, arrival times, seating, even who would bring what. I shrugged, keeping my expression neutral, just following instructions. Outside, the city lights twinkled, oblivious to the quiet revolution happening in my living room. By the time Ryan showed up, he looked different, less defensive, more present. He glanced around at the laughter, the chaos, the warmth spilling from my small apartment, and muttered under his breath, I didn't know you could make this happen. Neither did you, I said softly. Later, as the night grew darker, I checked my phone. Notifications were exploding, not from family but from strangers. People commenting on the video I had scheduled days ago. Messages poured in. You're brave. Finally, someone says it. This is exactly how I feel every year. I realized something profound. I wasn't just rewriting my family's holiday. I was giving a voice to everyone who had ever been the invisible one, the one doing the work and never getting credit. And somewhere in the background, I knew my mother was watching the collapse from afar, powerless to stop it. For the first time, Christmas didn't feel like a trap. It felt like freedom. By the morning of December 24th, my apartment had turned into a festive chaos of its own. Fairy lights hung crookedly on the walls. The table groaned under dishes brought by cousins, and Grandma fussed over the arrangement of candles like it was a royal banquet. I moved between stove and counter, tasting, adjusting, making sure everything was ready, not for my mother, not for appearances, but for the people who actually mattered, the ones who appreciated me. Messages kept rolling in from family and neighbors. Everyone wanted to know when to arrive, what to bring, and if kids were welcome. Slowly, the reality sank in. Mom's perfectly curated Christmas had already started to crumble. Catering had been cancelled. Linen deliveries never arrived. And yet, here in my apartment, people laughed, shared stories, and carried the holiday spirit I had spent years silently creating for her. Ryan lingered near the kitchen doorway, awkward and unsure. "So, this is really happening," he said quietly. "Yes," I replied evenly, because I stopped being invisible. By noon, the apartment was overflowing with warmth and chaos. Kids darted through rooms, laughter bounced off walls, and cousins debated over playlists and desserts. Grandma looked around, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "This is all yours, Liv, all yours." For a moment, I let myself feel it, the satisfaction of seeing my work, my effort, and my care recognized, not for applause, not for approval, but because people wanted to be here. And my mother, she wasn't here, and she couldn't stop it. Ryan finally admitted what he hadn't realized before. "I called Mom this morning. She's losing it. She thinks you ruined everything." I stirred the roasted vegetables, calm. "Did she ever notice how much I actually did?" "She suspected," he said slowly, "but she never realized you held it all together. And now everyone sees it." I nodded. Years of being invisible, covering her mistakes, keeping the show running, while being treated like I didn't exist. Ryan's shoulders slumped. I'm sorry, Liv. I never really saw it." "That's enough for now," I said. The evening rolled on, perfectly imperfect. Pizza replaced a burnt casserole. Ornaments got knocked over. Grandma laughed so hard she nearly fell. Nothing had to be perfect. Nothing had to be staged. Then a knock echoed through the apartment. Ryan stiffened. My stomach clenched. I knew who it was. Margaret, my mother, stood there, her festive dress slightly disheveled, clutching her phone like a lifeline. No backup, no audience, just her, finally facing the chaos she no longer controlled. "Olivia," she said, voice low, small. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside, leaving a crack open, my hand on the door. "About what?" I asked. "About finally seeing the truth?" Her eyes flicked to the apartment behind me, the laughter, the mess, the life she had lost control of. I didn't mean for it to go like this," she whispered. "No," I said quietly. "You did." She stood there in the hallway, silent, as the laughter and clatter from my apartment spilled into the corridor. I could see her trying to gather her composure, trying to pull back into the role of the perfect hostess, the matriarch, the woman who always had control. But for the first time, she didn't. There was no applause waiting, no one to save her, just me, calm, steady, and done pretending. "I'm not here to ruin Christmas," she said, voice tight. I just wanted to understand why." "You understand already," I replied. "You told me I wasn't needed. You took from me. You erased me from my own life while claiming it was for the family." I finally stopped letting that happen. Her eyes filled, not just with tears, but with something I hadn't seen before. Fear. Fear of being powerless, of realizing that her little empire of perfection could crumble without me. She stepped closer. I didn't know it hurt you this much." "Maybe that's the point," I said. "You don't get to decide what hurts me. You don't get to pretend that your version of sacrifice excuses stealing my future." She flinched at the words. "Olivia." "No," I interrupted. "I'm done apologizing for existing. I'm done covering up mistakes." I closed the door just enough to leave her in the hallway, a symbol of the distance her actions had created. I went back into my apartment. Ryan was watching me quietly. He didn't need to ask. He didn't need to say anything. I'd done what I needed to do. The rest of the night was chaos in the best way possible. Cousins argued over board games. Neighbors danced to an offbeat playlist. Grandma shared stories no one had heard before. And every dish, every decoration, every laugh reminded me that I had built something real without hiding in anyone's shadow. Later, Ryan came over, hands in pockets, hesitant. "Mom," he started. I shook my head. "Not tonight," I said. "If she wants in, she'll come on my terms. Not for her pride. Not for the illusion. For the truth." He nodded. You were right. All these years, I didn't see it. I was part of it too." "You still can be part of the right side," I said, "but not at her table." Midnight approached, and as the last guests left, I sat by the tree, tired but alive. My phone buzzed, a few texts from family, a few from strangers who had seen my video, people sharing stories, thanking me for speaking truth, telling me they finally understood their own families in a different light. I smiled, A real quiet smile. Revenge had never been about punishment. It was about reclaiming space, reclaiming voice, reclaiming myself. I hadn't ruined Christmas. I had just shifted who got to define it. Outside, the city was silent, snow softly dusting the streets. Inside, the tree lights glowed, reflecting off the empty dishes and wrapping paper. The echoes of laughter still lingering. This was mine. My first Christmas of truth. My first Christmas of freedom. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't invisible.